وسهلا بكل الذين ينضموا للاستماع إلى راديو بلدي أول راديو عربي أمريكي ويعنى بقضايا العرب في المهجر. برامجنا في راديو بلدي كل يوم جمعة من 8 وحتى 9 صباحا مع ليلى الحسيني في بث حي ومباشر وعبر WNZK راديو 690 AM. صباح الخير بلدي، صباح الخير لكل مستمعينا.
Welcome to Radio Baladi, the first Arab, Middle Eastern, and American simulcast radio show. Radio Baladi is broadcast every Friday morning on WNZK 690 AM from 8 until 9 Eastern Time on Good Morning Michigan with Layla Al-Husseini. Our call-in number 248-557-3300. And now, stay tuned for the best radio talk show on Arab and American issues with your host, Layla Al-Husseini.
Good morning and thank you for being with us. This is Khalil Hachem, editor via Michigan.com, the fastest growing digital business magazine in the Middle Eastern communities in Michigan. This show is brought to you in cooperation between Michigan.com and US Arab Radio. Today is Friday, August 28th, 2020. It's a rainy morning and the temperature is expected to reach in the low 80s. We need the rain for our lawns, for our tomatoes, for our plants. They all look happy this morning. It's a blessed day. Enjoy it. I want to thank you for being with us. The number here is 248-557-3300. Please give us a call should you have a question or a comment. By now, it's almost September. It's end of August. The school year is about to start. And normally by now we would be busy trying to buy school, to get the school list, buy our needs, get our children ready for the bus. But as you well know, these are not normal times. We are in the middle of a pandemic. Most schools and school districts, rather, will start the year online and will assess later on in the year, in the fall. And some of them, they're going to take, have the online schooling during the fall, whether they will, and then they will assess whether they will continue online or in person. Some schools decided to have an in-person classrooms, and then after they found certain infections, they closed. These are not easy decisions. These are very tough decisions for parents, for school officials, for everyone is involved. The life of our children is on the line, and our lives as well, because we don't want our children to get infected and come back home. We don't want the disruption. There's so much involved in this. And with us this morning to discuss school opening is Hussein Berry, president of the Dearborn School District Board, and also Fatme Faraj, Ms. Faraj, executive director of student achievement at the Dearborn School District. Good morning, Ms. Faraj and Mr. Berry.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much for being with us, and welcome to both of you. If I recall well, and I watched the decision being made, and the decision is to start school now online, have lab hours, and reassess in October to see where we are, whether we continue online or whether we go in person. Is that correct, Mr. Berry?
Yes, that is correct. I'll give you a quick recap where we started and how we got here today. First of all, good morning, everybody. I would like to thank the U.S. Arab Radio and our host, Mr. Khalil Hachem, for giving us this opportunity.
Thank you.
Obviously, global and national news is important, but local is the most important because it affects us directly. So I say thank you for giving us an opportunity to reach out to our parents and community to deliver one more time more information about our 2020 reopening plan. We'll have a chance to have Mrs. Faraj elaborate a little bit on the reopening plan. But at this point, I just want to tell you, to give you some bullet points here. In early July, I commissioned a committee to discuss this, to get the data and see what's in the best interest of our students and our community. And this committee was close to 100 people of administrators, teachers, parents, students were included, community members. Now, Khalil, there's no doubt in my mind that face-to-face interactions in the classroom is the best way to deliver an education to our students. So this committee, near the end of July, gave us, the Board of Education, 3 recommendations. One of the recommendations was a hybrid, which I was kind of leaning towards because that gives more options for our parents. What do they want for their students? But we had a 6-hour study session. We listened to almost 70 of our constituents and parents, and before we made our decision. As you know, things switched in Michigan and mostly in Dearborn. We saw the numbers start rising. For local servants in the community, you have to understand your community, and we knew what was going on in our community. So on August 10th, we met and unanimously decided to open our classrooms online. That being said, there are some other options, for our parents, like the virtual academy, and I'm going to let the experts speak on all this. Now, we will, like you said, we will continue to monitor the directions from our federal and state leaders. No doubt in my mind, everybody can't wait till we get this COVID-19 under control. Once we do that, we will have the 23,600 student plus back into our classrooms. At this point, I'd like to introduce Ms. Fatme Faraj. Ms. Fatme Faraj is our Executive Director of Student Achievements for Dearborn Public Schools. For the last few years, she's done some amazing work to serve our community and our students. I can't say enough good things I can go on and on talking about Mrs. Faraj, but Ms. Faraj, thank you for your leadership. And like I said, I will turn it over to the expert. Go ahead, Mrs. Faraj.
We miss you, Ms. Faraj, at the Maple Schools. Good morning.
Good morning. Yes, I was at Maple Schools before, and when I saw your picture, Mr. Hachem, I remembered you there as a parent. So,
thank you. We miss you there.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for the kind words, Mr. President Berry. And again, I want to thank Dr. Maleko and our entire team of Central Office and who worked, and also administrators and teachers. I really said it in the other interview last time that many of our teachers and many of our administrators did not have a summer vacation. So the work started on this early June because we anticipated the continuation of closure at this time. And we came up with many different scenarios, and we've explored many different options. Safety of our students and families are number one. Whatever we are planning, we took that into consideration and we planned accordingly. The other thing that we have to keep in mind is that whatever plan we come up with has to take into consideration the number of school days and hours, and we have to make sure that we are delivering the same content that would have been delivered without the closure, meaning in a typical year. So we had many parameters to work around and make sure that we are following the guidelines of the executive order and the guidelines of the Michigan Department of Education in terms of content, number of hours, communications between students and teachers, and all of these factors. In terms of the schedules, we had planned to start a little bit later so that the students are not waking up very early in the morning, like 6:30, and like they normally do to get ready for school. So the school hours changed a little bit, where the secondary, meaning 6 through 12, the start time would be 8:15 to 3:10, but students are not sitting on the screen the entire day. We had come up with several ways where students are either interacting with a teacher, doing assignments on their own, or small groups of students coming to school who really need the extra support. For elementary students, the time starts at 8:55 and ends at 3:50. So students are interacting and are engaged with the teachers during that time. Beyond that time, really, we're not anticipating much work on the students' part. What we are asking the families and the students to do, and we published all this information in very detailed documents, and they're also translated in Arabic. If students and parents can follow these guidelines and read those expectations, they are very helpful. For example, if the parent gets the child ready and making sure that the student is, for example, set the alarm clock. This is the best time to learn some management techniques for the students. to be organized and to be independent. If they set their alarm clock, they log into the computer, they know the schedule, the teachers will be walking them through these steps. The parent does not have to sit there the entire time by the child. I think this is the best opportunity to get them to build those independent skills. We did purchase additional materials via the Schoology platform, which is a technology platform that looks like the classroom. And the teachers will house all the content, which is the curriculum resources that we have, and also the Zoom Hangouts. The board approved the purchase of the Schoology and the Zoom. So students will be using those. In fact, every teacher will be using that. Another reason for adopting these resources is we don't want the families confused. We want them to be logging into the same platform, whether they have a preschool child or a high school senior. So they would be using Schoology and Zoom all the time. Lots of details with this plan, lots of accommodations that we are providing. We are listening to the families and the parents to see what their issues are, if they are facing difficulties. We're seeing students in whole class groups and also in small groups, sometimes one-on-one. So, for example, if we have a session in the morning for language arts for elementary students, the session may be 90 minutes, but within the 90 minutes, it's broken where the teacher can talk only for 15 to 20 minutes. She will not lecture for more than that. Then the students would be like we would be breaking the whole group into smaller groups where the students would be either working on a assignment that the teacher gave, and then the teacher would be working with a small group of 4 or 5 students, or maybe one student. And then she will check back with them, and she will invite them to come back to the Zoom room, which is the whole class. I'm trying to explain this so that the families understand
Sure,
that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
they know what they're going to be dealing with.
Absolutely, and the students are not sitting and staring at the screen and listening the entire time. That's not how it's going to look. It's going to resemble what normally happens in the classrooms, but we understand, and I think everybody understands that nothing will replace the teacher in a physical classroom. But we're going to make the best of the situation that we have. These challenges will definitely produce lots of opportunities for students. Like I said, like the number one tip I want to give the parents and the students is provide a place in the household where the student can sit and work, and also teach the child to set their own alarm clock, to wake up for school, establish routines for them. The best thing we can do at this time is routines, because if the child is sitting on video games until 11 o'clock at night, for example, I know for sure that they won't be able to wake up on time and get ready. Let them wake up, have breakfast, get ready, and there are recommendations too that students may change their clothes and dress in school clothes, and make sure that the student understands that this is my school now until it's safe enough for me to go back to school. We did offer virtual programs, which is 100% online program, where some families will not feel safe sending their kids, even if the executive order in October and November says it's safe to go back, or it's safe to go back in a blended mode. And some families will still be not feeling safe that this is the right choice for me and for my child. So what we did is we created 100% virtual program for the entire year. And with that program, normally that program exists in other districts, and it's called distance learning, where students are working independently. But in our district, we did not make it like that. We wanted the interaction to continue. So teachers will be interacting with the students for 3 hours a day, following what I have just described a couple minutes ago, where they're interacting, they're giving assignments and all of that. And then the other time, they would be doing work that the teachers will be checking with them on. And while students are doing that independent work, the teacher would be seeing a small group or making phone calls to families and parents and making sure that the students are engaged in learning. So these modes of instruction are called synchronous, meaning live instruction, where the teacher and students are in a Zoom session and interacting about the lesson. And the other mode is called asynchronous. Asynchronous is when we assign work for the rest of the day or the afternoon, when the students are not facing the teacher for 3 hours, and they would be doing independent work or projects or anything like that. The third option that we have is called Learning Lab, and in a Learning Lab, it's going to be a selected group of students who the administrators and the teachers see that it's necessary for them to come face-to-face, and they could be in groups of 1 to 3 students, and that, again, is for safety. We don't want many students in the building. The group may come up to 6 students at times, but we are observing all the safety protocols that are recommended and put together by our safety department. We have nurses on board. We have all our departments in the district are working together to ensure the safety of the students while delivering the best mode of instruction. So again, you can tell that all stakeholders were involved, and stakeholders are the community members, Board of Education, central office staff, teachers, and administrators. So
here's what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to be back talking a little bit about the responsibility of parents, if you don't mind. Please stay tuned.
Life is a nonprofit charity that's provided humanitarian aid and development to people and communities for over 25 years, regardless of race, color, religion, or cultural background. When disaster occurs here or around the world, Life for Relief and Development rushes in to provide food, medical aid, and shelter to those in need. Please help improve these efforts. Make your tax-deductible donation to Life now at lifeusa.org or call 248-424-7493.
مرحبا سعيد.
أهلا علا.
ليش هالمقابلة الفاترة هاي؟ بيقول المثل لاقيني ولا تغديني.
يمه زعلتي، شنو رأيك إذا لقيتك وأيضا غديتك بأحسن مطاعم ميشيغان، مطعم عشتار؟
والله فكرة، أفضل الأطباق والمقبلات العربية والعراقية وأحلى ملقا.
ولا تنسين اللحوم الطازجة مباشرة من ملحمة عشتار لزباين عشتار. وملحمة عشتار توفر اختيارات متنوعة من كافة أنواع اللحوم وبأسعار متميزة وجودة أيضا مميزة. ملحمة عشتار تقع على 36865 راين رود في مدينة ستيرلينغ هايت.
وأكيد أحلى لمة وأطيب لقمة في مطعم عشتار اللي عنوانه 3625 15 مايل رود في مدينة ستيرلينغ هايت. هاتف 586-698-2585 586-698-2585.
يلا علا،
يلا عشتار، للجودة وكرم الضيافة عنوان
مطعم عشتار.
When it comes to reproductive medicine, IVF Michigan Fertility Centers are the recognized leaders. With locations in Bloomfield Hills and 5 other cities in Michigan and Ohio, IVF has experts in all aspects of the field. As a founding member of IVF Michigan Fertility Centers, Dr. Nicholas Shama is one of the leading reproductive endocrinologists in Michigan and Ohio. Dr. Shama has performed over 10,000 IVF cases and has helped thousands of couples fulfill their dreams of parenthood. American board certified in both obstetrics and gynecology and reproductive endocrinology and infertility, Dr. Nicholas Shama is a very caring, compassionate, expert physician that understands not only the medical but also the emotional toil of infertility on his patients. When it's time, get personalized care from Dr. Nicholas Shama at IVF Michigan Fertility Centers in Michigan and Ohio. Call toll-free 855-952-9600, 855-952-9600.
Welcome back, and thank you for being with us. The number here is 248-557-3300, and we're talking to Mr. Berry and Ms. Faraj from the Dearborn schools, and we're talking about the return to school year. Mr. Berry, how difficult was the decision? This must be really a difficult decision to put this together.
Yeah, difficult is the understatement, Khalil. This was very difficult. It took a lot out of myself and my colleagues. They did some great work alongside with myself. You're responsible for almost 25,000 people in our community, students and staff.
Sure.
Then those 25,000 People touch, at least 2-3 more people in their lives. So that is very, very. I mean, it was very difficult. But you know what? What I've been saying is we need to crawl into this before we can stand up and walk. We need to go in very, very slowly. Now, I've heard from other parents that, hey, I want my kids in the classroom, 100%. Let's get going. And you know what? And they're not wrong. Nobody's wrong. You're a parent, so you do whatever you feel is the best interest of your students. But when you're responsible for that many students, and we understand that sometimes in our own community, some people take more risks than others. We figure that this was the best way to move forward. And like you mentioned earlier, we will be revisiting this decision every 30 days, and checking the data and see what it is in the best interest of the students and staff.
Absolutely, yeah. Ms. Faraj, these plans, have they been tested before, or these are new online studying plans or teaching plans?
The resources like the Schoology platform and the Zoom, absolutely, they have been tested before. They've been used, and they've been used by schools across the nation, universities and higher institutions have been using platforms. But elementary and middle school, high school students we've used something similar in the district, but it was not up to the expectations that we needed. Therefore, we went to the board and we studied 3 different platforms with community members, and we selected the one that the committee voted on, and of course took it to the board for approval. So yes, they have been tested. We sat and we practiced and we looked at what it looked like to provide instruction. Teachers, the entire teaching staff in the district and administrative staff sat yesterday through professional development, building courses in the platform and getting ready for the students. We understand that not everything is going to be ready next week on Monday, but we do have a soft start next week where students will meet their teachers if they choose to appear in the building, and they're coming in small groups. Also taking their Chromebooks, they're checking out their Chromebooks and getting their math books, language arts books, and other resources that they need. Now, we did say that we adopted new technology resources, but we're not giving up the books and the paper and pencil activities. So it's going to be a combination of both. We purchased a new language arts and math program, for example. These are going to be used by the students, and they're coming to take their books. Now, you did ask me before about what are we expecting of the parents. The first and foremost area that we want the parents to pay attention to is the social emotional needs of the child. Of course, we're not focusing on academics. The first thing we need to make sure is the child is in good health. The child's well-being is observed and taken care of. If the parents notices that the child is having any difficulties in any area, or even if they have a health issue in the household, or one of the family members, God forbid, is sick, we understand that these are things that happen. We want them to communicate with the teachers, let the teachers know what the situation is, and they will work with you. We talked about routines and alarm clocks and an area for the child to study, and of course monitoring what the student is doing and monitoring the daily routine and what's happening.
Yeah. Now, as you mentioned, parents seems to be a big, an important component of this. Are you providing some kind of training video for parents, which I think it would be helpful, whether it is in both Arabic and English? Here's what you need to do, 1, 2, 3, 4, and like a cheat sheet that we can refer to. It doesn't matter how savvy we are. At the end of the day, we could use your expertise and your help, telling us how to deal, because we're not as parents, we're not used to dealing with classrooms. Here's what you need to do when you're dealing with your child during the day.
Absolutely. Thank you for asking that. And I wanted to point out also the Dearborn Schools webpage. It's called dearbornschools.org, back to school, /back to school. And on this webpage, the parents have all the documents that they need, and in the beginning of the page, the first thing that you will see there is the parent expectations, and that document is translated in Arabic exactly what's happening during the teacher's instruction, what is happening at home, how the parents can help, how the students can get ready, and then you have student expectations and teacher expectations as well. We included that so the parents would know also what the teachers are expected to do. If you scroll down a little bit on that page, you will see the Chromebook distribution dates for each school. So the parents would know when to go and check out the books, and that's going to be next week. Some of them started this week. Scrolling down a little bit, it's going to also in Arabic and in English. And this time around, what we did is when you open the web page, you're going to see the title in English. Normally, we did not do that. But this year, what we did, or this for this plan, what we did is we put the title, and then right underneath the title, we put the Arabic translation. For example, we put transportation. What is happening on the bus? So if you scroll down, you will see the icons in picture format, and you will see the title and then the title in Arabic, like the transportation and the safety protocols and what we're doing on the bus. Athletics, what does sports look like? Another one is facilities and cleanliness. How are we cleaning our schools and what protocols are we following? Or the pre-screening or the food service. If you want to know the food service schedule and how the food is being distributed, that's a state law that we have to continue to provide. So that is available as well. Everything that you need answers for that anyone could think of is there on that webpage. And we also are welcoming any feedback, or if parents ask a question that we have not thought of, right away we go and add it.
Wonderful.
Well, Khalil,
yes, sir.
You witnessed firsthand how amazing Mrs. Faraj is at Maple School, but now the rest of your audience know that our students and our parents are in great hands in Dearborn Public Schools. We have a great leadership. Obviously our superintendent, Dr. Maleko, is an excellent leader, and he has a great support with Mrs. Fatme, Faraj, and others on his team.
Absolutely. It's going to take all of us working together to really go through this piece, as you said. Yeah. Is there anything I haven't asked you that people need to know?
I'm just going to go ahead and mention, I know Mrs. Faraj did a great job explaining everything. The Schoology is a technology platform where she did a good job explaining it. I just want to let everybody know that the curriculum part was our amazing teachers writing the curriculum. What does that mean? There are some other districts that are just buying a program of curriculum, meaning that you're spending, most of the time the students are in front of their computers watching a video. And that's not, and Mrs. Faraj explained that very well, that's not what our students will be experiencing, because it's our own amazing teachers that wrote the curriculum for the students. Other than that, Khalil, if you get any questions in the future, you are welcome to share my phone numbers. If I don't have the information, I will forward that question to Mrs. Faraj or Dr. Maleko.
Sounds good. I want to thank you so much for taking the time to be with us. This is a very important subject, and I encourage everyone to visit the district website. Also, if they have any questions, to let us know, and then we'll let you know. Mr. Berry, Ms. Faraj, thank you so much for being with us this morning.
Khalil, thank you. Thank you for what you do, and appreciate you. I'm going to stick around and listen to the rest of the program, because I see my brother's also on here, Amer Zaher, who also does some
Amer
great
Zahr is
work
going to be on.
Community.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. He does some great work, so I'll be listening.
Thank you.
Mrs. Faraj, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Have a good day, everybody.
Thank you again. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back. Please stay tuned.
Kushat's Mediterranean Market and Shish Kebab offers a great array of your favorite Mediterranean meals. Meals range from lamb specialties, shawarma sandwiches, seafood dinners, and they offer special big trays of your favorite food, plus much more. Kushat's Mediterranean Market and Shish Kebab address is 32839 Northwestern Highway in Farmington Hills. Their phone number is 248-538-9552. That number again is 248-538-9552. and the supermarket is open from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. Kashat's Mediterranean Market and shish kebab will definitely leave you satisfied.
مركز طب رهاب للعلاج الطبيعي بإدارة الدكتور محمد فرح حسين، أخصائي العلاج الطبيعي بخبرة أكثر من 13 عاما. طب رهاب يقدم خدمات العلاج الطبيعي وإعادة التأهيل، ويضم مجموعة من أفضل أخصائي التشخيص الدقيق للحالات المرضية، مع خبرة عالية في التعامل مع الحالات التي تحتاج إلى إعادة تأهيل وعناية خاصة بعد العمليات والكسور. طب رهاب يستقبل كل الحالات المتعلقة بألم الرقبة، الظهر، المفاصل، شلل الوجه، الانزلاق الغضروفي، عرق النساء، الحوادث وإصابات العمل. خبيرات في المعالجة النسائية لخصوصيات تامة للسيدات. عندما تبحثون عن رعاية متميزة اقصدوا توب ريهاب للعلاج الطبيعي الواقع على 15001 ميشيغان افنيو، وللمواعيد اتصلوا على 313-846-0555. That's 846-0555.
Ziyad brand. Quality products from our family to yours. Ziyad Brothers Importing offers the finest quality products, including brands like Sultan, Kraft, Nestle, Hook, Rico Picon, Dana, and many more. Ask your retailer to carry these fine products because you deserve the very best. For more information, visit our website at www.ziyad.com. That's www.ziyad.com. Ziyad, quality products from our family to yours.
Welcome back, and thank you for being with us. This is Khalil Hachem with US Arab Radio and Michigan.com. I also, again, I want to thank Hussein Berry, president of the school district in the board in the Dearborn area, and Ms. Faraj, executive director of student achievement, for being with us. This is going to be a very trying time for us as parents and students, but we need to keep in mind that the number one priority is being safe. Then we have to work all together to really make this work. So hope we're going to be monitoring this, and then we're going to be calling them back in a month or so to see how this is working, and then go from there. There are a lot of news out there. Yesterday, President Trump delivered his speech accepting the nomination. I think last week it was the Democratic convention. And it was kind of sticky to see the Republican convention taking place at the White House. Normally, politicians or presidents have kept the White House away from, partisan politics. But President Trump is President Trump, and he decided to bring it right into the heart of that. Anyway, also, another issue internationally, which really brings a lot of pain to most of us, and that's the issue of Palestine, and then what happened between the peace between Israel and Dubai, and it's just that we do want peace with everybody, and we want peace in the area, but at the same time we want Palestinians to have their rights and that issue to be addressed. And trying to make peace with this country and that country and avoiding the main issue is not the way to go. And with us this morning, our friend Amer Zaher. Amer, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Khalil. How are you?
Wonderful. Thank you so much for being with us. I really appreciate you taking the time. I know how precious sleep time for you in the morning, so thank you for being with us. And
my pleasure.
You teach law at absolutely. You teach law at Wayne State University. Is that correct?
At Detroit Mercy.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
I actually teach at Detroit Mercy Law School, not Wayne State Law School.
Detroit Mercy Law School. And we all know you as a great comedian, but just wanted to let people know that you do have a normal job. So. if that's right.
Actually, comedy is my normal job, and teaching law is my side job.
Oh, okay. Amer is a great comedian. I've had a great. I've enjoyed I've seen you twice so far in the area here, and it was great. So we want to thank you for bringing that to our community. So the issue of Palestine, I mean, it's really tough to understand what's going on. Could you shed some light on that?
Well, look, Palestinian activists in America have made lots of headway in the last, I would say, 5 or 6 years in political activism and getting more politicians and political operatives and political activists to understand more the issue of Palestinian rights and to sympathize a lot more with our cause. This has caused the Israeli lobby to sort of react in very strong ways. I mean, we've always said and thought, the pro-Israel lobby like AIPAC is so strong. But the truth is, look what we did in 2018. We were able to elect just 2 people out of 535. We were able to elect Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib, and all of a sudden, AIPAC started, having entire conferences and strategies dedicated to just these 2 people. So we can make a big splash with sort of little developments, and we've done that. Well, now we've ended up in a presidential campaign where, of course, you have Donald Trump, who is, wildly pro-Israel for the evangelical Christian community to get votes and that kind of stuff. And the Democrats, unfortunately, instead of going more in the direction with how their voters and how the Democratic Party sort of rank and file are going towards Palestinian rights, they went with Joe Biden, who has this 50-year history of being very, very pro-Israel. And what he's trying to do with the support of AIPAC and AIPAC-linked groups that are in the Democratic Party is to bring the Israel issue, the pro-Israel issue, back to the Democratic Party, to take away this the partisan disagreement which has developed over Israel. He wants to eliminate that. And that's very, very damaging to a lot of the work that we've done. But he's talked about that openly. So, Biden has now come to the table and said he won't move the embassy back to Tel Aviv, that he will never tie Israeli aid to any actions that Israel does, that's the definition of unconditional support. In fact, yesterday there was a report that on Wednesday, Kamala Harris met with a pro-Israel group, I think it was a Jewish group, and assured them again that the Harris-Biden administration would basically not ever tie American aid to any actions Israel takes. And that's just crazy, right? I mean, it's crazy that you would say we're going to give a country $4 billion a year no matter what they do. I mean, no matter what they do. And so this is the world now that we... Yeah, and this is the world that we political activists who are fighting for Palestinian rights are living in now. That's why I've been so critical of Joe Biden. Look, Donald Trump is a crazy racist idiot, okay? And I'll never vote for him. And he's going to get a very low amount of votes probably in the Arab American community. But that doesn't mean we blindly follow whatever the alternative is, and it doesn't mean we shut up about what our real criticisms of the alternative are. Not Trump, we learned in 2016, is not really a motivating rallying cry to get people out to vote for you. And it seems like they're going down that same road. And I don't know if the Democratic Party is going to have to learn another lesson. But I watched the Republican convention and the Democratic convention over the last 2 weeks. And I was shocked last week just talking from terms of our community. I was shocked last week watching the Democratic National Convention. And the Democratic Party has made some outreaches to Arab Americans and to Muslim American communities. But I was shocked that while many other minority communities were represented on the screen during those 2 hours every night, we were completely invisible. And there was even a section where they highlighted the women of the Democratic Party, and especially the newly elected women of the Democratic Party. And 2 of the most visible and popular women nationally in the Democratic Party, Ilhan and Rashida, were completely absent from that. So it's hard to imagine that it's anything but deliberate. And then And so we finished the Democratic National Convention with us being completely absent, with them even taking time out to condemn Palestinian activists like Linda Sarsour, who they condemned openly, the Democratic Party and the Biden campaign during that. And if that wasn't
why did they do that? Why did they do that?
Well,
I never understood that.
So Linda Sarsour is a Palestinian and Muslim American activist, and she's on the left. You know, she's like me, lefties, Bernie Sanders type people. But she's also was a delegate, you know, an elected delegate to the Democratic National Convention. And she was on, you know, the Democratic National Convention consists of the sort of 2 hours of officially, you know, sanctioned programming every night. But there's also lots of like side panels and conferences that happen during the convention as well. And she was on a Muslim delegates panel, and she got on and she talked about, you know, some voter engagement. She didn't even talk about Palestine. And right-wing groups do what they always do. They then criticize the Democratic Party for, you know, having her at the thing. And the Biden campaign, instead of saying, you know, we're a big party, we include all kinds of voices, they took that opportunity when they were criticized by right-wing groups to say the Biden campaign supports Israel and we condemn the views of Linda Sarsour. Okay, and they fell victim to this right-wing criticism, and we were extremely how can I say this nicely, ticked off by this, and we let them know, and we demanded a public apology, and we didn't get one, and that all happened last week. So I thought when I watch the Republican National Convention this week, I'll get a steady stream of Islamophobia, and, you know, maybe that'll make me feel a little bit better. And, you know, maybe at least I'll still be able to see the Democratic Party as a little bit better than the Republican Party. And then Trump is a racist. Trump doesn't like Muslims. That's clear. The first thing he did was the Muslim ban. That's clear. The Democrats, unfortunately, didn't even mention the Muslim ban at their convention. But what does Trump do? Trump gets on stage on Tuesday night, and I don't know if you saw this, Khalil, he naturalized 5 new American citizens during the convention. And 2 of them were Muslim, and 1 of them was Lebanese, one Lebanese Christian. Okay. He naturalized a Muslim guy from Africa, a Muslim hijabi woman from Sudan, and a Lebanese Christian woman. So the Republican National Committee realized enough that they should include some of us on stage, and the Democratic National Committee completely ignored it. Now, that doesn't mean I'm going to go vote for the Republicans. I never will. But the fact that we were excluded there and included there really is a big problem. And so we Palestinians are saying, look, what do we have to do? What do we have to do to say to the Democratic Party that we should be included in the discourse? And unfortunately, we ended up with a candidate who still believes that AIPAC and pro-Israel groups run the show, and that's where we find ourselves right now.
You know, what I want to do is very quickly, and then I want to come back to this particular issue, and we're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back. Please stay tuned.
Are you going to start a restaurant or a grocery store soon? Do you need floor plans and designs? Call Naji Abood at 734-744-9796. Do you want to buy kitchen and restaurant equipment at discount prices? Call Naji Abood now, 734-744-9796. New Concept Products and Design, the trademark of kitchen equipment. 5% discount on all purchases of $75,000 or more. New Concept Products and Design, new location, 31185 Schoolcraft in Livonia. Learn more at www.newconceptproducts.com. Call Naji Abood, 734-744-9796.
إلي ساعة عم بستناك مشان نروح نتغدى بالشام.
الشام؟
ايه بالشام ومو بالشام.
شلون صارت هي؟
بدل ما نروح نتغدى بالشام
ايه
جابوا لنا الأكلات الشامية الطيبة لعنا لهم.
وشلون بقى؟
هذا مطعم دماس عم يعمل كل الأكلات الشامية الطيبة هو.
وطيبة؟
طيبة كتير.
شرفوا نتغدى سوا بمطعم دماس.
الأكل الشامي الأصيل فقط بدمشق كوزين. زوروهم على 28841 أورشد ليك بفارمينغتون هيلز، ولطلباتكم اتصلوا على 248-987-4609. That's 248-987-4609. دمشق كوزين and catering، جبنا لكم الشام لعندكم.
When you're looking for the best in optical care, Dr. Imad Nakash is your doctor to see. With years of experience and thousands of successful procedures performed, you can trust your eyes to Dr. Imad Nakash. See Dr. Imad Nakash and his professional staff for your eye care needs. There's 2 locations to serve you. In Hazel Park, call 248-336-3937. 248-336-3937. In Rochester Hills, call 248-299-3937. That's 248-299-3937.
Amer, Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib, when they succeeded last time, the first time, they faced opposition from different groups, and this time, and I'm assuming they both won their primaries. Is that correct?
They both won their primaries,
and there were a lot of speculations that these groups, pro-Israel groups, will work to unseat them. And it didn't work out that way, or so far it did not, because in these elections, if you win the primary, basically you won your seat. And what happened there? Did they don't have the power they used to have as local groups, or there has been discussions between the two and things are different now?
Cycle went after Ilhan and Rashida, and not just Ilhan and Rashida, but they went after them and they weren't successful. And Ilhan and Rashida overwhelmingly won their primaries, which tells us, yes, that these traditionally strong pro-Israel groups are not as strong as they used to be. It doesn't mean they don't still have strength and money. They do. But they're not able to control elections like they used to because of the hard work of pro-Palestine activists over the years, which have been able to educate people more, use different methods of information like social media to get the word out there, and to really let the American public know about our issue. And this time it wasn't just Ilhan and Rashida. We had Jamal Bowman in New York City, who beat a 32-year incumbent named Elliot Engel, who is very, very pro-Israel, who was the head of the Foreign Affairs Committee in the House of Representatives. And Jamal Bowman, a black man, was able to beat him in the Democratic Party, and Jamal had been favorable of Palestinian rights. We had Cori Bush in St. Louis, who beat a 50-year dynasty, beat someone whose father was in Congress for like 35 years, and he had been in Congress for 15 years. And this congressman had also expressed blind support for Israel, and Cori Bush is an ally of Palestinians, an ally of Linda Sarsour, and a vocal supporter of BDS, and she was able to win her primary in Missouri. So there's been lots of wonderful developments when it comes to electing congresspeople, and this even and these are all Democrats, obviously, and this even shows more the slap in the face it is from the sort of traditional establishment of the Democratic Party when they blindly follow Israel and pretend like we don't exist at the Democratic National Convention. That's why I say the rank and file and the people of the Democratic Party are with us. So I'm not throwing the Democratic Party out the window, but we have to say openly that the leaders of the Democratic Party are not following the regular members of the Democratic Party, and they are slapping our community in the face. Now, that doesn't mean don't go out and vote for them against Donald Trump, but that means let's do it with our eyes wide open, and let's do it with knowing what the battles are still exist in front of us, and not participate in celebrations and parades if Joe Biden beats Donald Trump. Instead, if he wins, we have to be the first ones knocking on his door to demand our rights. But I'll tell you, after watching the last 4 days of the Republican National Convention, I'm not so sure that Joe Biden has it locked up like everyone thinks he does.
Exactly, and I agree with you. Yesterday, I was watching it, and you can't win elections based on character. You have to have a plan. Right. And I'm sorry, I don't see Biden having a plan. I think I see the same repeat of what happened with with Clinton, and it's going to be another disappointment for the Democrats. And as you well know, I mean, last time white Democrats voted Republicans. What are we doing now to bring back those, or what are they doing now to bring back those white Democrats into the fold? And I don't see that happening. What do you think?
I agree. I mean, I think there was a lot of people maybe who were flirting with Biden, but here's the thing: the Republicans. There's one thing the Republicans do much better than the Democrats, which is the Republicans, they close ranks. They say to the traditional base of their party and to the sort of right-wing base of their party, look, we're all going to work together and we're all going to publicly get out there. And they say to the right wing, we're going to give you some concessions openly and we're all going to be united. While the Democratic Party still to this day sort of, tells the radical, the progressive wing of their party, like people like me and Bernie Sanders supporters, that, hey, we centrist won, so you guys don't really get anything, and we end up with a lot of fracturing. And so what we saw in the last 4 days from the Republican National Convention and Donald Trump is, look, the guy, I don't care what you think about the guy, they understand how to put on a show, and they understand how to message.
Yeah.
And
They're
saw
effective.
lots of
They're effective.
Yeah. We saw lots of black speakers at the Republican National Convention. And this was not meant to get more black voters. This was meant to make a lot of these white moderate voters who believe in some of the social values of the Republican Party and who believe that Donald Trump built a good economy before COVID, to make them feel sort of better about his character and not think that they're voting for a racist. That's why you saw a parade of black speakers at the RNC. But also, and Trump said it last night, he has this criminal justice reform thing, which is a real thing. And Joe Biden is the author of the crime bill. I mean, it's hard for me to understand how the Democrats nominated the only guy for whom Donald Trump can look at him and say, I have freed some black people from jail, and you put a lot of black people in jail. I mean, that's actually true about Joe Biden and what they nominated the only guy who can fall into that trap. And so I think what the Republican National Convention was exactly that, Khalil, what you said about targeting these white voters in the middle who voted for Donald Trump last time to say to them, look, it's okay to do it again. He's not a racist. He's not the head of the KKK. Remember the good things that he did. And look at what's going on in the country right now and linking a lot of, the unrest in the streets, even though, of course, it's happening on the watch of Donald Trump, linking these things to Joe Biden and the left. And I thought they were very effective at that. I think we're going to see polls coming out of a much closer race after the RNC, especially in Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, those places.
Yeah, there are a lot of whites that will vote for Donald Trump that they won't admit it.
Oh, of course. I mean, look, polls are notoriously off these days, and yes, people lie. People when people get into that booth, look, race and racism are still the number one indicator of how a voter votes, and there is. Let's not forget, even people who call themselves white. Do you remember that incident in Central Park a few months ago where a white woman called the police on a black guy who was watching birds? Well, it turns out when they investigate, when social media people investigated her, she's a Democrat and she had donated to Hillary Clinton many times over the years. Racism and feeling uncomfortable with black people is not something that only white people from the Republican Party do. It's something that a lot of white people from the Democratic Party do too, and we are going to see Trump try to capitalize on these things in the streets. Right, the guy who murdered 2 people the other day in Wisconsin is a young Trump supporter who's been to Trump rallies, but the Republican Party is going to use that to say this is the fault of Democrats. And they are going to capitalize on these things. And that's what we have to be careful of. And look, it's hard to defend the Democratic Party in this way because, again, they take a lot of minority voters for granted, and they completely exclude our community from the discussion. So these are going to be a lot of challenges for Joe Biden and the Democratic Party, especially here in Michigan. And the last thing I want to say, and The last thing I want to say in a few seconds, because we didn't get a chance to talk about it. I know you brought up the UAE-Israel normalization deal. The important thing for Arab Americans to understand and Muslim Americans to understand is that the reason we Palestinians urge, especially Arab groups and Muslim groups, not to normalize with Zionist groups. And again, normalization doesn't mean simply talking. Normalization means talking with these groups without centering the question of Palestinian rights. The reason we ask people not to do this kind of stuff is because when you make peace, like the UAE did with Israel a couple weeks ago, you are doing a couple things. First of all, you're legitimizing everything Israel has done in the past. You're saying that's okay because we can make peace now and move, quote unquote, move forward and all these kinds of things. But also, more importantly, you are literally putting Palestinian lives in danger, and you are raising the likelihood of Israel doing things to Palestinians, not lowering the likelihood. And we saw that exact thing happen because the day after the UAE and Israel signed their deal, we had 10 straight days of Israeli bombing in Gaza. And Israel feels when they make peace with Arabs or when they have nice photo ops with Muslim organizations in America, that gives them more license to bomb and kill Palestinians, not less. So that's why we ask.
Exactly.
Look, there's nobody who understands Israelis more than Palestinians. I promise you. We've been dealing with them for 72 years. So when we say don't do something, please listen to us.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to be with us. As always, I've always enjoyed having you on the show. Thank you so much.
Talk to you soon.
Appreciate it. Thank you. And I want to thank you for listening. I want to thank Sam Berry and Fatme Faraj for being with us. Again, the school year is going to be a challenge. The election is going to be a challenge. I don't care who you vote for. I'm an independent person. I'm an independent voter. And please go out and vote. Even if you don't vote for anybody, go out and put that slip in. It's very important that you do that. So, and one last thing, I got 1 minute left. I want to tell you about the housing market. The housing market is very hot. If you have a home to sell, any property to sell, let me know. We can get you the most money for it. This is the best time to sell. 313-819-0101. The reason is that there are a few homes on the market. You can command a good price. We can get you a good price. And some properties are selling for more what their market value is. This is a perfect time to sell. If you have a property to sell, give me a call. We have a long list of buyers, and we will get you taken care of, and then we'll get you the most money for your home. 313-819-0101. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, everyone on the show. Thank you, Mike, for producing it, and have a wonderful and safe weekend. Bye now.